Hello and welcome to Draw 10 coverage of the 2019 Canadian Curling Club Championship. Darren McEwen alongside Denver Suddy. We are inside the Leduc Curling Club and we have a men's draw this afternoon, and Denver, it has a lot of playoff implications.
Yeah, it's a battle of the prairies right now. It's between Team Alberta and Team Saskatchewan. Team Alberta 3-1 at the moment with wins over Nunavut to Newfoundland and Ontario, and they dropped a game to New Brunswick. Saskatchewan 2-2 with wins over Northern Ontario and New Brunswick, and losses versus Newfoundland and Nunavut.
As we see all the teams lined up here at the Hog Line for this draw, we're getting ever so close to those playoffs. We'll meet the teams now from Alberta, the Glencoe Club. It's Skip Dale Goring, third Chris Armstrong, the second Fred Edwards, and lead Andrew Brotherhood, their coach Paul Webster. And from the Saskatchewan team, from the Humboldt Curling Club, it is Skip Aaron Goudreau, third Jason Schlachter, second Tom Johnson, and the lead Joel McDonald. And we're almost set to get underway in this one.
Yeah, this one always brings a lot of people out. Of course, we're here in the Leduc Curling Club, so Alberta being the host province of this one, and the neighbors next door of Saskatchewan. So always exciting to see these two teams meet.
I asked Dale if he feels any extra pressure being the host, and he said absolutely not. Kind of block that from his mind. It is a bit of a road trip down the highway up here from Calgary, but I think they're soaking in this experience. Both these teams, their first time at this event. I was talking to the team from Saskatchewan before the game, Denver, and he was saying they're having an absolute blast here as we watch the opening rock.
Yeah, that's Andrew Brotherhood here, the lead for Team Alberta. Saskatchewan did win the last stone draws. They each throw 2 last stone draws at the beginning of the game, and Saskatchewan winning that, so Alberta will throw the first stone. This one will slide into the rings and settle down at the top 4. So for Saskatchewan, they'll be looking just to remove this stone here.
First look at Joel McDonald. The Saskatchewan team, as you mentioned, got a big win last night on an extra end against New Brunswick. Been a couple extra ends, actually not too many, all the games we've had out here. But Alberta was also, the men were taken to an extra end against Newfoundland and Labrador, and they pulled out that one as well. So both these teams have had a few bonus curling rounds of the week.
Yeah, that's right. In Saskatchewan, with that win last night, as you mentioned there, it's got to be a great momentum boost for them coming into this game. So we'll see if they can carry that through here against Alberta. It's a hit and roll over to the back of the 8-foot there.
Not surprising, we're seeing an opening end to start. These two teams not wanting to necessarily mix it up. First game for both of them, I believe, of the day. I know Alberta was off this morning. They were actually next door at the Canada Cup watching some of the teams compete there.
Yeah, in this first end too, the teams are just learning some of the paths in the ice here, and seeing how the hits move and how much they're curling. And so likely, as of now, we'll be setting up here for a blank, and that's fairly common here. Saskatchewan will be happy to carry the hammer over into the second end. You'd like to score in the even end, so they'd be happy with a blank as well. Right on the nose from Alberta's second, Fred Edwards there. It's now Saskatchewan's Tom Johnson as he'll attempt the hit on the nose as well. Just cleaning it down the ice here, looks good. And it is. Well, as the Alberta and Saskatchewan men here continue to trade these nose hits. Lots of other games out there. In fact, all 8 sheets are going at the moment, so we'll keep you updated on the action from all of those as we move along today. All of the scores can be found at curling.ca/scoreboard.
Yeah, it's getting crunch time for a lot of these teams. Even with a couple losses, you're still in the playoff mix. We move to tomorrow a double knockout format here in Leduc. So top 8 teams, top 4 from each pool move on. There's no tiebreakers. That's actually Denver determined by those last stone draw to the buttons that they do before the game, each team throwing 2. So those are super important for the hammer and also to get you into that double knockout round should there be any record ties. And of course, after the double knockout, we move into semifinals and finals. They'll all wrap up here by Saturday evening.
Yeah, and they do those draws to the button during their warm-up after they finish throwing their practice stones. And both these teams were quite close on both of their draws. Saskatchewan beating Alberta out by a small margin, but they'll both feel good about those draws, at least number-wise. That'll help them later on in this week. Saskatchewan third now, Jason Schlachter, as he'll throw his first stone in this end. Right on the nose. See the second stone this end from Alberta third, Christopher Armstrong. Front end sweeping this one down, but it looks close. And he'll make it. A little roll there over right onto the button, actually. That one's just about perfectly covering the whole pin there. Sweepers on this one as it comes down. This one's curling a bit, but they've held it, and this one looks good.
Denver, we see it a lot, the first end being open. What is the thinking behind that for these teams?
Well, certainly if you're Saskatchewan, you've got the hammer here, so looking to blank, and they want to score in the even ends, so they're looking to carry over that hammer. And for both of the teams, they're just feeling out the ice and just seeing how some of these paths are. They've played a lot of hits now, so they should be familiar with how some of them move towards the center line, and a little bit we saw a few off to the wings as well. So not a lot of draws, but they'll definitely know at least how these hits are moving, especially towards the center here. So for both teams, it's really just a confidence builder in the first end. A blank is pretty agreeable for both parties.
If this is your first time tuning into the Canadian Curling Club Championship, it's been around. This is actually its 10th edition of the event. We were in Miramichi, New Brunswick last year, and it features 14 men's and 14 women's teams. They all got here as champions in their own right, winning their province or territory, Northern Ontario as well, and playing through a provincial just like you would at a mixed senior or junior. A little bit different qualification rules, as each team is allowed one player who's played in a provincial, territorial, junior men's, women's, or senior championship in the current or previous 4 seasons. And as well, no player on the team is going to play in a Canadian junior men's, women's, or senior national championship in the last 5 years. And another rule on that, which is, I think, a good one, Denver, is that you can't come back year after year. You can come back, even if you win the event, you can come back in the future, but not back-to-back years. Allows a chance for other teams to get here. We see that in the smaller provinces and territories. You get 4 different curlers every year. But these two curling powerhouses in Alberta and Saskatchewan, you know, it's unlikely that you probably would be sending the same 4 guys every year because they are such strong curling provinces.
Yeah, so with the small provinces like you mentioned there, it really allows a lot of different curlers to have the opportunity. I mean, this is it is a national championship, so certainly a point of pride for all these teams to put the provincial or territorial colors on their back here with the jackets and get out here and represent their home crowd.
As we see Aaron Goudreau slide down for his last rock of this first end, looking for the blank attempt.
Well played end by both teams here. They've made every hit so far, so numbers are looking good for both sides. Final stone now of the first end as Saskatchewan looks to the blank and carry over the hammer.
Trying to hold this one though, and they've got it. So no score after the first end of this draw 10 men's game. As Denver mentioned, we have 7 other games on the ice, a mix of men and women's games. And they're all wrapping up their first end with our open end. We are the first one done, but we'll keep you posted. You can also go to curling.ca/scoreboard for all the updates across the sheets. Busy day today, though. We have 4 draws. Previously, we had Monday night started with 2 draws, and then 3 draws on Tuesday, Wednesday. But today it's a full day, starting a little earlier here. So teams might be maybe a little bit out of their routine, depending on what their draw was like. But regardless, they are all gearing up to hopefully still be in contention tomorrow.
Yeah, first game, though, of the day for Alberta and Saskatchewan. So they'll have likely had a chance to get well rested and prepared for this game.
Andrew Brotherhood out of the Glencoe Club. And of course, the Glencoe Club is home to our reigning national champions in the men's and women's events. Chelsea Carey and Kevin Cooey play out of that club. You'll also find Cheryl Bernard there often practicing. It's been a while since I think we've had a curling club sweep the Scotties in the Brier. I actually don't know how long ago we had that. It may have even been a Calgary club that did that the last time. So
yeah, it doesn't happen too often, but really depends on sort of the set of the field and how strong different provinces are. Of course, it varies from year to year, so always interesting to see new results.
Alberta has won the men's title 3 times previously. Saskatchewan have picked up 2 titles. So coming into the event, these are 2 new teams from these provinces, but if you were looking at the board, they would be ones that you would, by way of the colors on their back, look at and think that they're going to be strong contenders here in Leduc.
Yeah, certainly. So often the prairie provinces can be pretty tough to fight your way out of, so they've certainly had some experience on the road to get here.
But it's curling and anything can happen. And this morning, the team from Alberta actually was upset by the ladies from Nunavut. So this championship has really showcased some strong talent from the Northern Territories teams, the Yukon women and men. Yukon women are actually in first place right now in one of the women's pools, as we see our first miss of the game there. And Nunavut men have won a game. Nunavut women won that game this morning. And the Northwest Territories, as you called this morning's game, Denver, gave a real run to the Manitoba men.
Yeah, it's been really impressive to see the talent from the North. So really looking forward to now and even future years to see how they'll improve their field. It's been excellent to watch.
One of the things they were saying from those northern teams was that their edge they feel now compared to previous years, especially in this event because it's early in the year, it's November always, is that they're getting ice installed sooner up there, and that's helping them get more practice. And of course, I think too, it's worth saying that coming back year after year or every other year for this event has really strengthened their talent. So corner guard and a rock in the 8-foot here for Alberta. Saskatchewan is being asked for a hit and roll.
They could get themselves into a nice position under this guard here. If they can get this, they can start putting some pressure onto Alberta and look to score their 2.
But Johnson's rock's going to roll out. Gets enough of it though to remove it.
And we'll see if Alberta now will have a chance to make use of this guard here and see if they can bury something. Looks like they're headed to the other side of the ice here, though, actually. So we'll see how deep they'll look to bring this in. So they've called a 6 here, and if any of you are unfamiliar with the zones of curling, usually between a 6 to an 8 is around the 4-foot and the button. So by calling 6, it'll be likely around the 4-foot here if they've been close, and it looks like they are, as it'll slip just a little deep to the back 8 with some, and into the back 12 there, some sweeping there from Gaudreau as he tries to usher it out the back.
Tom Johnson asking Schlachter to sweep to make it curl. He'll roll out, so another chance for Alberta to get a feel for draw weight.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for Alberta here, even though they don't have the hammer. It's a fairly open end at the moment, and they're getting the chance to feel those draws out, Darren, and that's certainly going to help them later on in this game. I can't imagine, I'm sure the skipper's going to have to make a few good draws tonight. Both these teams play again at the 8:30 draw. Alberta will take on Northern Ontario, while Saskatchewan will take on Ontario. Draw coming in there from Chris Armstrong, just behind the tee line there on the side of the 8.
Other men's games in action, we have scores across all of the sheets. Maybe not scores, but we have at least updates. The sheet right next to us, the Yukon men, we've talked about how well they've started this tournament. They are trailing, though, after the first end, 2-0 to winless Prince Edward Island, so PEI looking to play spoiler there. And in the New Brunswick-Newfoundland men's game, New Brunswick got off to a 1-0 lead. And it was a blank between British Columbia and Nova Scotia in the other men's game.
Chance for another draw here for Alberta, as they've played a few down this path now, so should have a pretty good idea of how it moves, sort of as it curls towards the wings. We'll bring it to just about the same spot as last time. About a foot farther back, but just behind the tee on the 8-foot. Last of the third stones here in the second end as Jason Schlachter here will let go of his last.
We've seen this sheet all week, Denver, and we've seen that outside the 4-foot, any sort of weight, it won't come back. Kind of almost have to play more of a controlled down weight to get the curl. He didn't really need the curl on that one, anyways. But you will find that within the 4-foot, especially if You're looking at your screen right there, just the bottom of your screen, the hog line in towards the glass here. It will really curl within the 4 foot with draw weight.
Yeah, we saw a lot of movement this morning in our game between Manitoba and Northwest Territories. There was a lot that were actually even starting to over curl. So as the game moves on, just both teams will have to keep an eye on the paths and see how it starts to move. But especially outside those 4 foot lines, tricky to pick up your weight. So wanting to keep an eye on that as we move forward.
Dale Goring's first rock of the second end, seeking his first national title in curling, but it would be his second national sports title. He actually Dale won the 1997 Canadian Men's Amateur Golf Championship. And so he's apparently does a bit of golfing with members of Team Cooey. I don't think I'd want to be on a golf course with him. But a lot of similarities. A lot of people, of course, will golf in the summer and curl in the winter. But one of the things is that quiet approach he has to the game.
Yeah, certainly not a super vocal player, but certainly makes the shots when it counts.
I can imagine he had a lot of pressure in that championship in 1997 when he won it, and the simple things of working on your breathing, staying in the zone, that sort of thing. Pressure shots, putts and drives.
Yeah, a lot of similarities there. Fairly often we hear golf compared to curling in some way, and certainly both of them, a big part of it is the mental game as well as it is in most sports, but certainly a lot of it in curling as well. It's very easy to overthink a shot and just trying to stay in that calm zone and be able to execute.
Eve Muirhead's another great golfer.
She's done all right with curling as well, I would say.
World champion and was just recently a European runner-up.
An Olympic medalist as well, as Eve. So
we see Edwards and Brotherhood hold down line on that one. So Goudreau would try another blank attempt here, successful in his first, looking for again.
Yeah, actually, it's not unsurprising. A lot of Alberta's games have been fairly low scoring, so we've seen a lot of blanks between a lot of these men's teams here. So be interested to see just how many we get today, but if this shot is made, it'll be the second of the game and 2 in a row. One lone red guard out there that never really saw too much play, as most of the shots have been on the other side of the center line here.
Aaron Goudreau and his tuck delivery. And we've seen that spot a few times, and that will pay off for Saskatchewan as they hit and roll out, and another blank. And we are scoreless through 2 of this draw 10 of men's action here. Talked about the other men's games, updating you on the women's games. Ontario playing Quebec, blank end to start there in the women's play. It's a 2-0 lead for Newfoundland and Labrador, leading Prince Edward Island. And another blank end on the British Columbia-Nova Scotia sheet. And guess what? Another blank end in the first end for Northern Ontario and the New Brunswick women.
Yeah, at first end blank, that has become a bit of a classic here in curling, and so not really surprised to see a lot of zeros across the board here. In fact, 6 of our 8 games had a blank in the first end.
Yeah, I think extra important too in those 8 end games to retain hammer, at least in the second end. But we're playing 3 now, and Andrew Brotherhood's getting us started, and he's been asked to throw up a guard. And so hopefully we have a little more rocks in play for this end.
Yeah, strategically, a lot of these teams are electing to play lots of blanks, but it sure makes it more fun when there's lots of rocks in play. Good finish on that one there as it stops just offside the center line there, so good center guard.
This team from Humboldt, Saskatchewan wanted to give out a shout out to all the boys back home they were watching, and they wanted to give a special shout out to Kevin, who's watching, who they called their unofficial coach. Teams here are permitted, as of last year, to bring a coach and alternate player, should they choose to. So these are the 4 that are on the ice here. Alberta actually has with them Coach Paul Webster. They also wanted to thank their sponsors, Bungie Canada and Brett Young Seeds. So slipping a little deep on the Saskatchewan rock, back 4 foot, gives a chance for Alberta to Denver put one behind the center guard.
Yeah, and you know, they do have the option to come right down to it. I would imagine they're trying not to quite make the freeze. That would still put them a little bit far back, so I imagine they'd like to end up at top 4 but buried behind that guard, and it will give them a good positioning of that stone. Especially without Hammer, having those buried rocks is nice. As this one will slide just off the face of that other stone, so not quite frozen, but close on the weight there. So looks like Saskatchewan now, as there's been a couple draws down there. We'll see if they've mastered this path, and we'll try to lock one on.
Line's a little tighter, I think. No, line's good. Jason in. Lots of weight, it looks like.
Sweepers calling back 4, back 80s easy, and this one needs to work a little bit for Joel to be shot rock.
Moving in a little bit now, so we'll see if this bounces off. And it does, and it's close now for shot stone. Between those 2 stones, as we get a closer look, it does look like it is the Saskatchewan stone.
I'd put money on it. But a pocket is set up here.
Yeah, and it's been quite easy to tell for shot stone here, as these Rhonda and her crew of ice makers here at the Leduc Curling Club has done a fantastic job. The officials were saying when they were measuring from the pinhole, checking around the rings, they said that they're some of the best, most true rings they've seen at a curling club, so excellent work there.
And just like that, Alberta sitting 2 without Hammer.
Still an option to get in there. Looks like they might be considering a little bit of a hit and roll and maybe open up play to the 4 foot on the other side.
The other teams in this pool, Saskatchewan in Pool A, it's Ontario right now with a 4-1 record. Newfoundland and Labrador 2-2. Northern Ontario also at 2-2, and New Brunswick, we mentioned losing last night to Saskatchewan, and they're at 1-3. Nunavut has the 1 win at 1-4, as we see a great shot executed there by Tom Johnson, a double takeout. Takes the seats. My job is done on that shot.
Yeah, and that's pretty good separation there, so good result for them.
Funny guy, I was actually out on the ice last night taking some pictures, and he was giving me lots of running commentary as I was beside the sheet. So
yeah, and it's a lot of fun for these teams to be out here too. It's a great little community we've got going on right now at the Duke Curling Club. It's lots of camaraderie. Teams are sitting around and chatting and sharing some food and stories after the games here. So great to see all of them having a chance to get to know one another here. It's a lot of fun to see.
Might see another double here. Fred Edwards looking for half rock. Makes contact with the second one. Not quite out the back.
Good attempt though there. That was a tricky little double, and it played good weight at it. So
yeah, we have 8 sheets in action here. The 5 sheets next door at the Sobeys Arena for the Canada Cup of Curling that's happening there. And beside, we're kind of in the middle. This facility on the other side of us is the patch, which I'm sure some of the teams will be enjoying tonight and Friday. And if you're in the Leduc or Edmonton area, it's free admission to this event. Or if you're attending the Canada Cup with tickets there, just catches the back one but saves his shooter. You're welcome to head into the patch from the Canada Cup or from this event. And there's also a silent auction happening where all the teams are competing amongst the other teams, men's and women's. I believe it's $500 that's raised in the silent auction and online fundraising will get the team a ballot to be entered into a grand prize draw to win a all expense paid trip for their team to go to the 2020 Tim Hortons Brier, not to play, to observe and take that in, in Kingston. So they're hoping they can win that if they are not successful on the ice. Nice hit and roll there by Fred.
A nice shot. That's actually
Excuse me, Chris.
it's actually fully buried underneath there, so it is a little far back, but certainly rather have a rock buried than wide open. So shot by Alberta.
If you're looking to donate to any of those teams, you can still do that online. You don't have to be here to help them out. Do have to be here for the silent auction, and there's lots of great prizes, but you can go to curling.ca and find the event website for the Canadian Curling Club Championship and donate in those teams' names to help them get a ballot into the trip to Kingston. And that all the funds from that help the Curling Canada Foundation, which is supporting youth curling initiatives across Canada. Jason Schlachter here asked to put one behind the guard. Sweepers calling back 8. Nice line.
Yeah, this looks close here as it comes down. Little nudge there, but pretty good angle there for that stone. Alberta will look to out-count them here and look to draw under this guard into the top 4 foot. Final stone of the end for Alberta third, Chris Armstrong. This one's really come up on them here. It's I'm not sure if he maybe just pulled it back or if it.
Yeah, we've seen many shots down this side, Denver. I'm wondering if that was just a different path that fooled them a little bit and they were light.
Yeah, maybe it could have something to do with it there. They had 1 or 2 earlier in the end, but it hasn't been many, and a lot of the hits were on the other side of the sheet. So may have just fooled them a little bit there and come up a little late.
Top 4 would be good.
That'd be a great
They're going
position
now,
to
though.
be. Sit 2 if they manage to get it underneath.
Great line. You can see the sweepers kind of switch over, both of them trying to make it curl, tuck it around to be second shot. They got enough of it.
Yeah, it looks like they do. So they'll sit 2, and nice, really good effort by the sweepers there, not only with a bit of the directional sweeping, but also just keeping that stone running. Will be first of the skip stones here in the third end as Alberta is up now, looking to draw into the 4 foot and sit shot rock.
Dale Goring with his first.
That's good. Where are we? Where are we?
This rock's running on them.
Trying to get a little bit of directional movement here as this will finish up and be good rock there. They will sit for shot stone, and they are behind the tee line, but shot for the moment.
You see a good view there. Pretty tough to get to the inside of that.
Yeah, they'll be looking likely just to come on top of it there, but it'll certainly be tricky to get to the inside edge and bump it around.
See the time clocks there in the top left of your screen. All the teams under time for this event, 30 minutes thinking time. 2 timeouts permitted each team. Hasn't really been a factor, at least for any of the games I've seen here.
Yeah, it's not so much really the time limitation. It's more so just, you know, one more thing to think about. There's a lot going on here. Lots of other teams right out there on the sheets. And, of course, our feature matchup, they do have the mics on the ice and the cameras as well. So just a few things going through your mind as you're playing. And
great shot there by Aaron Goudreau to get underneath. Still sitting the one now. Was able to get underneath with just the draw weight.
Yeah, got to the inside there a little bit and a little tick to the side, so that's good for him there to get it even more buried. It'll be a tough draw to get shot stone now.
So not much backing here for Goring to work with. It does finish nicely, as we've seen a few shots come in there, but probably can't rely on using that yellow unless it's a locked on corner freeze, but it's lost, as we say, the yellow one behind the other rocks.
Yeah, you can't see any of it. It's behind a few sets of guards, so if they can get by the yellow with just a little space, they might have a real good looking shot here, as this looks to be the close weight.
Brotherhood was on it early, but it's straightened up and might be a little heavy as it slides to Schlachter's broom, and a chance here for Saskatchewan to draw for their 2, and you can see a bit of a perplexed look on the face of Dale Goring. Just a little strong, I think, Denver. The line was pretty good.
Yeah, and a bit of early sweeping may have straightened it out a little bit and just given it a little bit of extra weight. Saskatchewan now looking at these red stones here that are at the back of the forefoot and back 8 here. There is a shot for 3, I think, if you can get those 2 reds moving, and I think that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, maybe an inspiration from Kevin Cooey's triple last night, because it would be a triple if you were to make it successfully. Big shot here.
Yeah, a lot of granite maybe moving around in just a moment. Nice thing is you can see all of that red, so not needing to worry too much about those guards.
Yeah, need the action on that second red rock to scoot out the back. The yellow one should jam. But it's a matter of what happens to that middle red rock. They're on it early. They got to drag this out, though, past the top red one. A real hard scrub to get it by. They're by the guard, and what's going to happen now? They both go, and it's a huge 4-point for Aaron Goudreau on this third end. And you can hear the Saskatchewan fans love it. Yeah, that was a Canada Cup shot there. That was awesome.
Seemingly out of nowhere as well. It looked like he'd be drawing for 2, but had a second look there with his team, and after a bit of discussion, decided to go for it there. Not a lot of risk with that shot, and it turned out fantastically. Even kept that yellow around.
Yeah. So the other men's games in action. Prince Edward Island continues to lead the Yukon 3-0. It's a 2-0 lead for New Brunswick after a steal in the second end over Newfoundland and Labrador, and still blank, no score in the BC Nova Scotia men's games. Our game, and that 4-ender really jumps out at you, but we're playing 5-rock rule. We've seen some big comebacks this week from 4 points, even more. So Saskatchewan needs to keep applying the pressure, and Alberta will try to chip away at that lead.
Yeah, and at the last few stones of that last end there's some great draws by Alberta, but just a touch off on the line, and that opened the door for Saskatchewan to make some great shots, and that got them their 4.
good. Gotta make it good. Get her.
So underway here with a 4-point lead. Saskatchewan's going to, I would assume, Denver try and keep it open now for at least this end.
Yeah, you're going to see them put a couple rocks in the house, and anything that happens to slide into the rings from Alberta, they'll be likely looking to hit as soon as they can, as the less rocks, especially if their opponent's color, the better right now, looking to keep themselves with a good couple clean ends here and try and get some forces and out of Alberta and keep control of the game.
Yeah, looking at Saskatchewan's record, starting off 0-2 and then 2 wins, and then playing this strong team from Alberta. That shot, I think, is probably a big confidence boost for them to, even propel them, in this game at least. But if they go on to win this one or future ones, you have to think that they're starting to roll here in Leduc.
Yeah, that win last night that they had there definitely, and the momentum now from this big 4 points, and that's got to have them feeling good. They came off a win, and so this will keep them rolling.
So much warmer than that. Just freeze the love is okay.
So after corner guard by Alberta, Saskatchewan will another one slide in here. It's close to the same weight as the last one, as it gives it just a little bump up, and
Yeah, really important for those lead rocks to be in front of the tee line, and Joel did just that. Don't want to start creating walls with Alberta also throwing corner guards. Andrew Brotherhood with his first successful corner guard, asked again. Sweeper's calling a 2, which would be good.
yeah, that's about the right spot for it there. As you see Dale tapping his broom there, indicating where he'd like it to finish, and it looks like it'll get close. So it'll
Nice and even.
slide there. So 2 nice shots there by Andrew Brotherhood to set his team up for the rest of this end. And now if you're Alberta, Darren, how huge would getting a deuce back be in this end?
Especially even ends going to the break. You don't want to be trailing by too much, and 2 would put you back in this one for sure.
Yeah, we do have a short break for all the teams after they finish their 4th end of play, and so definitely want to head into that and be feeling confident. Alberta as well will have a chance to chat with their coach, Paul Webster, after these 4 ends here, so looking to get some offense going.
So now, Denver, you're in a spot where you're Alberta. You can't ignore those Yellowstones anymore.
No, not with 3 of them there, and especially in the position they're in. I mean, they've got 1 on the button and 1 top 4, and then in the 8-foot, so they're definitely in a dangerous position. It's always tricky. You do have 2 perfect corner guards there, but if you start going under them, they're just going to keep piling even more pressure. And of course, if you do go for these center ones, now Saskatchewan will have the opportunity to start peeling those guards, so can be a bit of a tricky situation there. I like the aggression here by Saskatchewan. They're up by 4, and so instead of playing the center guards and trying to go for steals, they're just wanting to maintain control of this game, and so going right in will definitely help them do that.
Yeah, and also great rock placement for those first 3 rocks, right?
For sure.
And that's a good rock placement there by Alberta, getting Fred Edwards' rock almost hitting perfectly on the nose. It's going to be hard to get rid of that red rock anytime soon, but regardless, Saskatchewan doesn't want to mess around with any sort of guards right now, so Aaron wastes no time going up to that corner to peel it off, and Tom Johnson's second stone.
Yeah, certainly a nice shot by Alberta there. They've got a rock in a good spot, and it did kick the other yellow out in the open. So peel made there. Alberta now. They're calling for the hit on the stone on the side of the forefoot. Not throwing a ton of weight at this one, so sweepers are on this one to try and hold the line.
Yeah, it's really coming across here. But quiet weight, as you said, Denver, and that will hold the shooter. And shot rock is Alberta back forefoot. As we see a replay here of quiet hit and roll.
Yeah, and it rolled just a sliver too far, almost a perfect roll there if they'd caught just a touch more of that yellow stone, but just having a few stones in the house to play with.
This is lined up pretty well to, I think, half rock. The yellow goes back, might lose both the reds. Don't want to miss the front one, though. They have any of the red, just enough. Yep, right back, and works out pretty well with the freeze to the back one.
Yeah, it pushes that yellow almost straight down there, so actually that angle worked out not too badly for them. That's a good position for that yellow stone.
Jason kind of chuckled there after it made contact. It worked out well.
Yeah, that's not exactly what they called, but hey, they'll take it. Got to be careful now looking at potentially removing that stone. You have to always worry about the jam as they're close, but opting instead for the draw under the guard.
Chris Armstrong, a surgeon in Calgary.
Line's perfect. Yep, gotta go again. Yep. Hard. Line's real good. Hard. Ready now. Ready.
You got to think the focus required to do that sort of work would definitely help you ready up for your shots.
A championship curler and a surgeon at back end. I can't think of two more calm people under pressure. That would be an ideal duo. So board waits the call here. Aaron Goudreau asking Jason on his second to just nestle by the guard. But even if you get rid of the guard on this one, Denver, it's not a bad result. As you said, that yellow rock that's back button is not an easy removal for Alberta.
Yeah, and if you're Saskatchewan, you'd like Alberta to try it because the potential of the jam is pretty high. So
this one, though, looks like it's going to catch the guard, but
so it rolls now.
And it will roll right to a center guard. So great plan B, and I think that's why they played that weight, was to ensure if they did catch the guard, they'd get a center guard out of it.
Yeah, that
even harder
really
to get rid of that yellow rock for sure. You might be able to see a little bit of it. I guess maybe a quarter of it from the intern side.
The nice thing about it is the side that you can see is the side that you need to hit to avoid the jam, and so they may look at taking that on. You can draw to it, and a freeze down to it would be a pretty nice result as well. Given the ice here, though, it looks like they'll be going for a bit of a tap.
So Fred Edwards saying it's up a little bit. Brotherhood on the sweep. Is he by the guard? Just by the guard. Oh. And he'll get almost to nose on that one. Not quite enough, or a little too much of the yellow rock actually to remove it. So it's one right now for Alberta, and Saskatchewan's lining up the double from the edge of the 8-foot into the shot rock. Doesn't need to necessarily remove that red rock, but it's a useful way of getting in there for sure.
Yeah, and that hit and roll over, that's a nice catcher. So, you know, even if you're not looking to make the double and just put one in that zone, if you've got a good angle, that'll definitely stop your rock and you'd be at least partially buried. So,
pretty flat. Well, a little flat, I should say. It's not a natural necessarily double, but we've seen him play the big weight last end, and it paid off with a big 4 spot. So Aaron Goudreau on his first, looking for another big shot. Pretty close.
Yeah, so they scrub it
McDonald
over
being
a
asked
little
to
bit.
make it curl, not quite.
Just off nose there. Still one more rock to come from Saskatchewan, though. Alberta with hammer here in 4. Some discussion now from Alberta. They do have the hammer, and they do have a couple rocks in play, and you got to think they'll be discussing how they might be able to bring that back red that they have there into play. There's a lot of options here. I think they're discussing. I think they do want to come into the rings. It's just a matter of where they want to put it. And Darren, what do you think about this setup here?
I think where Dale just tapped his broom is the ideal spot for it. In turn, almost, you can see from, I think, the hack, you'd be able to see about half a rock of that shot rock. So if you tuck enough of this stone that Dale's about to throw, kind of Christmas tree effect it, where there's, you can see he's moving the broom just a little less. So if you can bury it a little bit more, then it makes the next shot for Saskatchewan pretty tough.
Yeah, certainly, and Alberta would love to pick up 2 or more here, and if this shot is made, they've got a pretty good shot at scoring a couple.
Dale Goring in his first stone of this 4th end, trailing by 4, sitting 1. Trying to turn the tide here before they head to the 4th end break. Line's good, but they really got to drag this for weight.
Yeah, as line starts to move on them a little bit, I think they can get it by this guard, but it's a matter of how deep they can get it. Or it'll just squeak by.
Yeah, had great line, just light. Guards it maybe a little bit, maybe an inch more of a guard on the shot rock now.
Yeah, and a little tighter to the house, so a little more difficult to get around. Do have to watch as well if they make a play on it. There is that yellow that's towards the back 8 there, and that's certainly a possibility for a jam. So got to be careful. You hit that a little high, and it'll.
Yeah, I like this call if they're gonna commit to it here. Aaron's indicating possibly a freeze, same side. Even if you come up light, Denver, you're probably forcing Dale to draw the other side, which he hasn't played, draw for 2. You don't mind giving up 2 here if you're Saskatchewan, so make it harder, and I think putting one down there, whichever way you get at it, but I always like to not leave my opposition the same shot twice. So if he was to opt to play the out-turn draw, he might be leaving Dale the in-turn draw, which is what he just played.
Yeah, I think you can certainly get at it both ways, so I don't know how much it's a question of which way can you make it, because it's both, but yeah, as you say, what you want to leave your opponent.
So it looks like they're opting for the out-turn draw, freeze to the 4-foot.
Yeah, and they don't really need to worry too much about shot stone here. This is more just to take away the opponent's shot and leave Alberta a tough one.
I think the concern maybe they have too with the in-turn freeze was if they left it a bit open, was that if they ever left a hit on that shot into the Alberta counter and then back into the yellow one for 3 or 2 or 3 that way. So less likely you would leave a shot for 3 on this draw than you would on the other one.
Final stone now from Saskatchewan. Skip Aaron Gaudreau.
Early sweep by the front end. Backing off now.
This looks close. Line looks really nice.
Needs to curl, but the weight looks fantastic. Pretty good, but if you hit that, if you get to the inside of it, there is a shot for 3, and that's...
Yeah, there is that that double there.
Yeah. He needed to curl a little bit more. His weight was pretty close.
Yeah, pretty good.
Or leave it maybe a little bit higher, and there would be no shot for 3. But tough to leave that one short.
I think maybe a little bit caught there at the end, worrying about exactly where to put it. You don't want to make his draw super easy, but you also don't want to bring it too deep and bring this shot into play. So pretty good judge all the way down, but maybe just at the end there, a little bit of miscommunication potentially about where the best spot is to leave it.
Good patience by Alberta in this end, throwing up the corner guards. 3 rocks by Saskatchewan in the 4-foot to start, but Dale Goring here has a shot for 3. Needs to make a double. Fred Edwards early on it to drag it out. Leaning on this rock to get it by the guard, and the first guard is not quite cleared. And that will be a single for Alberta. And so they'll narrow the gap a little bit. It's a 4-1 lead for Saskatchewan as we head to the 4th end break in this Draw 10 coverage of the 2019 Canadian Curling Club Championship. We'll be back from Leduc after a short break.
Everything. It's where I come to feel close to her, to feel whole. This building helped raise me when my mother no longer could. When I step on the ice, she steps with me. My dad is my rock. We're a team now, like the 4 of us when we step on the ice. People say that this isn't a contact sport, but that's not true. It contacts you where you need it the most.
Curling! The game with the ice, and the rocks, and the sweeping, and the yelling. Each game starts with a handshake. Then, 2 teams of 4 people take turns throwing 44-pound stones down a sheet of ice. Each team throws 8 rocks, and the team closest to the center after all the rocks are thrown will score the points. This process is repeated for 6 to 10 rounds until one team is victorious. It's just that simple. Or is it?
That has to be the most Canadian thing I've ever seen.
Well, maybe if he was also eating a poutine.
Whoa. And drinking maple syrup.
And he's also a curler.
Guys, you know I've never actually been curling before.
And you call yourself a Canadian?
I'm sorry.
There's more than 1,000 curling facilities in Canada. Be a good Canadian and find one near you today.
One might say I was born to overcome challenges. 2 months premature, in and out of the hospital, and a heart condition. My parents call me their miracle baby. As with all survivors, I searched for my place in this world and I found it here. This pebbled ice is where I battle now, and at only 12, I am already a 5-year veteran of this sport. I have my sights set on the Olympics. I will push hard to get there. The only size that matters in this sport is the size of your dreams.
Before there was ice, there was our hallway at home. I was always the shy, quiet kid who loved math. But when I saw math come alive in the geometry of the game, I found my passion and my voice. It's a game of precision, a game of inches. It's the equation that now defines who I am.
Welcome back to Draw 10, men's coverage of the 2019 Canadian Curling Club Championship. Live from the Leduc Curling Club, Darren McEwen alongside Denver Sutty. Denver, it was a real chance there for Alberta to get right back in this game with a double takeout in the fourth end, but a little tight on that one for Dale Goring.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with the line, and I think given the broom they had, he may have been a touch light as well. That seemed to start curling fairly quickly, so may have been a combination of the weight and the line there, but certainly a bit of a missed opportunity. And fortunately, they didn't give up any steal. They were already sitting one before that attempt there, so at least able to get a point on the board as they trail by 3 here in 5 as Saskatchewan with hammer.
Updating you on the other games in action, women's games. Right now it's a 3-3 tie between Ontario and Quebec. And we have a 4-2 lead for Newfoundland and Labrador on Prince Edward Island. And 3-2 advantage for Nova Scotia, yet to lose a game in the women's events. They're leading British Columbia. I believe the men have also not lost a game in the men's event, so another good showing for them. But other women's game on our furthest sheet, it's a 1-1 tie, Northern Ontario, New Brunswick. Andrew Brotherhood with his second rock of this fifth end.
Yeah, this one looks close here. Looks to be curling nicely. Seems like the teams have figured out this line on this path here. And they're able to get some rocks under there. And as we see that center guard there, it's we may get quite a bit of action again and be, I imagine, quite a few draws and little tap backs down this path. So always exciting to see what the teams can do as that play is brought into the center.
Really important game for both of these teams. Saskatchewan coming into it with a 2-2 record, hoping to make it into the double knockout phase of this event, which starts tomorrow. Their next game is Ontario tonight, who have a 4-1 record. Alberta comes into this one having lost just one game, 3-1. Their next game is Northern Ontario. And that game is our final pool game tonight, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time.
It'll certainly be interesting here as we move on the week as teams start to play their second last and last games to this day here, and so we'll see how they fare in these afternoon and evening games. Certainly the sort of the next step as we move towards double knockout. That sort of the picture starts to become a little bit more clear, and we'll see how these teams can bring their records. A win by Saskatchewan would put both teams at 3-2.
Sweepers calling this one a little heavy on Fred Edwards' first shot at this end. Seems to really come down a bit.
So hook it around and won't quite get shot stone, but a good scrub effort there, and you can see part of that stone, so chance to potentially tap it up in a moment here. As Saskatchewan will look to peel this center guard and starting to look to open up the center and try and get some rocks in there.
Saw really good to end last end by Johnson and Schlachter on the peels, so they'll be looking to do that again this end. Even the one peel that was, or I guess it was a hit that was around a guard, it worked out well for them.
Yeah, oftentimes where you have rocks in and around the forefoot that are partially buried around a guard, it's often not too bad of a result as well for teams to just peel that guard instead, as you don't get the one in the house, but you do open up the center. Also forces the other team to make a perfect guard if that's the route they choose to go, if they want to cover it back up. So it does add a little pressure back onto the other team as well, of course. So we see now final stone for Alberta's Fred Edwards of this end.
Talked about how Alberta has won this men's event 3 times, but it has been a while. It's since 2013 they went back to back to back, having won in Richmond, BC in 2011, Toronto in 2012, and Thunder Bay in 2013. So it's been a few years, and Saskatchewan actually winning this event twice. Once in Halifax in 2014, and before that in 2010 in Charlottetown.
Interesting note as well, 2 of those back-to-back Alberta wins. They were both teams from the Crestwood Curling Club, and that's in Edmonton. Looking for another peel now is Saskatchewan, as they'll make that one no problem. So another 2 nice shots from Tom Johnson as he makes both those peels.
Trying to hit half, I think he said, but it worked out. Is that a good game Tom has?
Yeah, lots of nice hits. So as we see Chris Armstrong here. Looking to cover that center back up and put another guard on the center line. This is coming in nicely here. We've seen some pretty good movement towards the center the last few ends, and that one no different as it ends up right on the center, just under the Curling Canada logo.
Light clean. Just misses the one in the house. Rolls off his shooter.
Yep, got a little close there, but still a good result. Actually may have ended up removing one of the red stones if he had hit that yellow the way it would have moved over, but straight peel. So likely the same sort of thing here as Chris Armstrong is asked to replace the guard and should know the path as he just threw this on his first stone. So this one might be a little deeper, but it seems to be coming up for them now. Yeah, about a foot deeper than the last one, but still right on the center line there, splitting center. So touch
and making Aaron think on this one a little bit more, or which angle to hit it on, or which angle not to hit it on.
Yeah, given that they brought it just a little deeper, it brings the run backs into play, but it also is making your opponent think about if he just wants to straight peel or if he wants to start moving some things around in the house and how best to do that. Scrubbing this one as it comes down here and nudges the one in the house there, but otherwise mostly straight peel. Already down to skip stones here in the 5th end as Dale Gehring will look to see what he can move around in the house and potentially get his stones into a better position for him. He goes back here for a second look and a bit more discussion with third Chris. Quite a few options here, Darren. There's the guard again, but what do you think they're discussing coming into the house and maybe tapping here?
Yeah, it looks like they're considering the tap. The tap, if you have the right angle, would be okay. Just don't want to set up a double for Goudreau on his next.
Yeah, that's always the tricky thing on these shots here is, you know, you can make that tap in there and you can get it into a good spot, but because you're hitting it a little on the high side, it does open up angles for a potential double, so got to be careful in the way you hit it here, but certainly would be able to promote that red at the top of the 4-to-shot stone, and it doesn't need to be moved much, just about 3 inches. Decision made now as they bring the ice. It looks like they'll be looking to remove the back yellow rather than simply just bumping it, their own stone onto it. So we'll see if he removes it here. Calling the weight a little down. So we're going to have a good scrub on this. Looking close, on and off here. So it looks like they've got a good stone. We'll play a little bump, and that's a really nice shot there.
To sit 3.
They'll lay 3, and one of them there is completely buried under those staggered stones at the top of the house.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that Dale was saying, he wanted to get his shooter a little more out of the way there because he has left a double here for Aaron, and Aaron's made a number of big shots this game. So.
Yeah, I'll be able to come off that stone from the outside there and get over to the center. A bit of a tricky angle, but if you hit it to, I'd say about 1/3 of a rock, that should go.
Yeah, they're even looking now at the front stone.
Interesting to see what kind of action they might get.
Yeah, you really just don't want to hit it on the, well, it depends on what turn, but you don't want to hit it on the, I guess, low side of this turn. Don't want it to over curl because you can run it right through that hole, but anywhere. Yeah, just listening to him here, he's just saying that both of them should go. Hitting it, I think, nose or even just a little low might get both of them.
Yep.
You can see on your screen there on the left of Jason's broom is where he wants to hit it. Or even nose. I think he had to get it a little low to make the double.
Yeah, just a touch. Big shot now as it's Aaron's first in this 5th end of play.
This is really over curling out of his hand. Might get it the double the other way though, on the red. Oh, not quite what he was looking for. It does remove one of the red stones, but makes the angle flatter if he does try to play a double on his next one.
and did remove his own one there and spilled his shooter. So interesting result. It took off out of his hand there.
Yeah, they're actually fortunate it did get further over. If they'd hit any more of that yellow rock, they may have missed that red one and entirely left the three
Yeah,
there,
just shot the yellow right
yeah.
through that hole. So at least removing one of those red stones and changes up the angles as well, as that front of house is no longer locked up.
But they do have hammer, Saskatchewan, so some relief there. Nothing out front. But if Dale Goring can make a good one here, he'll put the pressure on Saskatchewan and Aaron Goudreau in his last. So we play this fifth end. Dale Goring in his final rock of this fifth end, trailing by 3, sitting 2, looking to steal.
Yeah, this one's really a matter of positioning now. You've got the rocks in play, and now it's about making it tough for Aaron to score.
Really need this one to walk over to the further than the center line. They're at center line now, but need to they'll come up short too, so it will be an open hit opportunity for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that's a couple there for Alberta that have come up just a touch light. They've had pretty good line this whole game.
Both of them, I believe, well, the last end we saw, was it Dale's draw that came up? Did Dale have a draw coming up late in the last end?
I believe that might have been the one before, yeah.
It is an open hit, but you want to be careful here too. You don't want to get anywhere high side on this one, because there is that counter at the back too. Or the rock, I should say, at the back, as we watch Aaron Goudreau throw his final rock at the fifth end.
This one looks good as sweepers just clean it.
Just clean, and that will be right to the nose, and they'll add another, and a 5-1 lead now for Saskatchewan after 5 ends of play of draw 10. And the other men's games, Prince Edward Island looking to play spoiler, as we said earlier, to the Yukon territory next door. And so far, so good for them. They lead 4-2. They're playing the fifth end. New Brunswick men will have a 3-1 lead on Newfoundland and Labrador. And it's a low-scoring game on our last men's sheet. It is a, wait for them to put the score up, 2-1 lead for British Columbia. They are leading previously unbeaten Nova Scotia. See how that plays out.
Yeah, lots to keep track of here at this event. 14 men's and 14 women's teams, but all of the scores and all of the other results in action like that, you can find that at curling.ca/scoreboard.
And after this game, we'll be back later this afternoon. Denver, you'll be back later this afternoon to call New Brunswick versus Nunavut in a men's game.
Yes, and I'll be back tonight as well, 8:30, that draw, and that's Nova Scotia and Quebec men. Both those teams currently undefeated, and one more game each before they meet.
Yeah, great that that's the live stream game, because that could be 2 undefeated teams.
Yeah, they have one more game each before that, but if they win that, then they'll be meeting at 5-0.
And it really does matter when you get into what your record is after the pool play, because there is the crossover double knockout. So if you go in ranked first in your pool, you will play the 4th ranked team in your other pool. So it gives you an advantage as opposed to playing the 2 versus 3.
Yeah, certainly a higher seed is definitely to your benefit. Of course, anything can happen in curling, but you'd like to go in feeling confident with as many wins under your belt as you can get.
System used to be that we'd play the pool play, and then there'd be what was called the championship pool, where those 8 teams would play off. But this has changed to double knockout. I would argue for the better, because kind of get into the playoff mode right away with that. You could, in previous years, sweep the the pool play and then get into the championship pool and afford to lose 1 or 2 games. You cannot afford to lose 2 games because it's obviously a double knockout now for that setup. So it's a little better. A lot of these teams that don't make the double knockout now have the opportunity, especially this year, to go next door, watch the Canada Cup, take in the sights, spend some money here in Leduc or in Edmonton, and just enjoy their time here. They're already going to be playing 6 games, so it's a lot of curling for these teams if you're finding yourself at the bottom of the pool. Of course, we have the patch next door too to partake in.
Yeah, a lot of teams I've spoken to have had the chance to check out West Edmonton Mall there. It's a fun experience for them to go and check that out. So they've been enjoying some different activities here in their time off in between games and in the evenings.
So center guard and a rock back 8-foot to start with for Saskatchewan. Long corner guard up by Alberta, and Dale Goring will look to try and use that, asking Andrew Brotherhood to wrap one around that very long corner guard on his second rock.
Yeah, it is a very long guard, but if they can put a stone that's fairly high in the rings, top 12, top 8, it's a little trickier to get at it. Line's good. Starts to move pretty good here, actually.
Yeah, even if it's just a tight guard too. 2 corner guards is if you're down by 4 now.
As they'll get it to the side of the 8-foot there and sit for second shot.
Tom Johnson with a change of duties this end, playing Peels in the 5th, asked to dial it back and draw to the top 4-foot on his first rock of the 6th end.
Yeah, he's made, I think, all his peels so far, having a good game on the hits.
So needs to curl, though.
Weight looks close.
Maybe a little further out than what we've seen the other shots out there. Didn't carry as far.
Yeah, didn't quite come up for them there at the end. So yeah, maybe just a little wider of a path.
Do we need to move that one? We could, can we roll on? Huh? Roll on.
Some debate now about what's the best plan of action here. Wanting to get some points on the board as they are trailing, but also mindful of the fact that they can't just let Saskatchewan fill up the house with stones. So
yeah, if that corner guard, which probably couldn't see in your screen there, but that long corner guard is actually blocking the draw path. If that wasn't there, he might not be peeling this guard, but right now there's no path to the 4-foot for Alberta. So Fred's rock just coming to almost the face. Might get the back one too. Well, good result.
Yes, it does. So nice double there. So it actually works out pretty good and does leave that guard in the center, but at least it's his color now. Tom Johnson there, a wise comment by him, talking about thinking about the next shots for Alberta and saying that likely he'll try to be going into the house. So another peel now for Johnson, and he's made several this game, and there's another one for him there. So I think he's made all of them. So good game for him so far, playing a very strong one.
Corner guard is asked to be replaced here.
They'll look to bring it in a little tighter than their last one. It was pretty high, but if they can get one close to that Curling Canada logo there, just a little past it would be a pretty good spot.
Nothing to it yet from
This
Brotherhood
one,
or Armstrong.
This one needs to finish up on its own as it starts to dig in. Little brush here at the end to get it to, that's about exactly where he put his broom, so good execution there by Fred Edwards.
Double there, Denver?
Well, you can certainly take a run at it, and it looks like they will. My only concern is if you try and make the double, you may end up sticking your shooter rock there right next to the red that they'll hit. It depends on the angle. They may get a little downward motion.
Jason Schlachter here. Got any of it? Half a rock over and does just that. Both the Alberta guards are out of contention really from the front.
Yeah, and they did leave that yellow guard there, but at least it's their color this time. It's an interesting sort of end. Alberta is sitting shot stone, but it isn't hidden by anything at the moment, so Alberta likely looking to figure out how they can get themselves maybe a split of the house at some point and try and secure a 2. Debating now the best course of action. Looks like it will be a bit of a draw here. They had a couple options. There's the draw. They also had the potential hit and roll.
It's going towards that yellow. It's going to make contact with the yellow.
Yeah, they may get a little bit of a roll in. So they'll move it over a little bit.
It is open for Saskatchewan. His weight was great on that one.
Yeah, it was really close. Really just, I think, a bit tight out of his hand.
A few times this week we've seen the intern down center line towards the boards go pretty well towards the boards.
Yeah, especially once it, now that one started moving a bit early, but we've seen a lot near the hog line there that just really start to carve in, and it's caught a couple teams off guard. They've been close with it, and all of a sudden it cracks over. So something to keep an eye on as we move forward here through the 6th end. This one looks good.
Nose hit by Jason. Gives a double back, but I think that probably will, or could, jam if you're playing it off the one on the left, but you certainly can hit the center line one and roll. It is a problem rock for Alberta. They got to deal with it, I think, at some point.
Yeah, the one right by the center line, that's the key one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a double there, as you said.
Don't need to necessarily make the double anyways. You want to generate your offense, generate your points this end, and don't. Third shot right now is not hurting you.
Yeah, maybe better to look at the one on the center line and look for a potential roll, I think would be their best course of action. May try to hit that one just off nose there and maybe get a bit of a roll underneath would be a good position. Swoopers close by for this one.
Edwards and Brotherhood trying to hold it. Quiet roll. And that nudges right up to the Saskatchewan 3rd shot rock.
Yeah, Alberta is sitting 2 now. This will be interesting because you can't hit that red stone really thin, as it'll just bump your own yellow. And
so by the words of Aaron, it sounds like where the broom is where he really wants to hit it. I don't expect this to curl too much down here, particularly with the weight he's been throwing on some of these shots.
Yeah, he's had good control over his higher weight shots this game.
That is something we see a little bit different at this club level. Is some of the when you have to get throwing the up normal peel shots. We've seen even some of the top teams here this week have struggled with that, but these two teams, from what I've seen, Alberta included, have done well at controlling these big shots. And here's Aaron's attempt at it, and it's just a nose hit. You don't mind giving up 2 here if you're Saskatchewan. Getting later in the game, you'd still be up 2 points yourself.
Yeah, and nothing even set in stone here for Alberta. They got to play this end carefully. 2 stones left, only 1 for Saskatchewan, so a good placement here could certainly help secure their 2, but where to put it down?
Get a good shot there. The time clock's 11 minutes, just under 11 minutes left now for Alberta. 10.5 minutes for Saskatchewan. Shouldn't be a factor as we play this 6th end.
As we're getting close to the conclusion of this end, and so hasn't really been too tight for most of the teams this week. It's
2 timeouts remaining for both the teams, and they have not used either of their timeouts this game.
Yeah,
so the sorry, go ahead, Tim.
The 2 blanks in the first end definitely helped them bank some time there. It's mostly just hits, so that certainly went by quickly.
Out-turn draw through the port looks to be the call for, we're switching it up. In-turn draw around center.
Keeping us guessing as well a little bit. That's
a few more options here. You don't have to be, if you're a little outside, you don't have to navigate the Saskatchewan stone as you would on his original call. You have to find the port with that out-turn draw.
Yeah, certainly doable, but this one's, at least looking at it, would, I think, a little more comfortable throwing this turn.
Yeah, Goring spending a little extra time on this one, cleaning off his rock twice. I felt something under it, but he's on his way to delivering his first stone of the 6th end. Sitting 1, trailing 4. Sweeper's calling a 6, which would be just above the tee line. Calling for the line, though, because this one's getting close to that guard. Really playing it tight to the guard, though. Maybe got a little too cute with that. But well, it's not an automatic double anyway, so.
Yeah, you can't nose that. That would stuff it for sure.
It's actually not, for hitting the guard, or wicking off the guard, it didn't end up in a terrible spot because the red one is not an automatic, both those red don't automatically go here.
Yeah, and they're pretty close together, so it's tricky. Yeah. You don't have a lot of wiggle room in where you need to hit it. It's got to be precise.
Yeah. Still a chance for Alberta to get their 2. Aaron just consulting there with Jason to make sure they're both clear on where they need to hit this one, because a hit and roll would also do well with the number of rocks in front of the house or at the top of the house.
Yeah, I was looking at that as well. You don't necessarily have to make this double here. Of course, you'd like to. That would definitely be advantageous. But even just picking off that top stone and rolling underneath the guards or the stone at the couple stones there at the top 12 would be tricky to remove and would require a pretty precise draw from Alberta.
So the skip from the Humboldt Curling Club in Saskatchewan has been on the money so far today.
Sweeper's on this one here. We'll see if he makes one more.
And he does. Wow, great shot to sit 3, and Saskatchewan will get at least a 4 out of this. But Alberta still needs to find the 4-foot on Dale Goring's last rock of the 6th end.
Yeah, it was a great shot there. Not only did he get the double, but he got a really nice roll as well. I'm sure we would have liked it to stop a little earlier, but still a great position for them to be in.
Yeah. Force, I'm sure, was the game plan in this end.
Yeah, and at the
they've
very
achieved
least,
that.
they've accomplished that.
Dale was pretty close, I would say, on his weight in the last one, so you would think this one would be close. Final stone, 6N, trailing by 4. Alberta facing 3. Sweepers calling same weight as last time. The line looks a little bit better, should be close.
Yeah, the weight was
This
good
is
last
trailing
time.
though now. Denver should be by the guard.
I
Do
think
they have
so.
the weight to drag it? Piece of the forefoot.
It'll be close, out counting those first 2 anyway,
Great
and there it
scrub
is.
by Edwards and Brotherhood to get the single point, and it's a 5-2 lead for Saskatchewan as we head to the 7th end. Women's games update this afternoon in Leduc at the Leduc Curling Club. It's a 4-3 lead for Ontario, leading the women's champions from Quebec. Newfoundland and Labrador jumped off to a big lead on Prince Edward Island. They're playing the 6th end. It's 10-3 right now for Newfoundland. It looks like a big 6-ender was scored there by Newfoundland in the 5th end. And in other women's action, Nova Scotia undefeated. They continue their roll. They're winning 6-2 in British Columbia. They're playing 6, as is Northern Ontario, New Brunswick, and there it's the team from Thunder Bay that leads 2-1. Our game, again, it's been a lot of great shots, Denver, but that 3rd end, that double takeout by Aaron Goudreau was so far the difference in this game. It's been hard for Alberta to get anything going, but they've done really, I think, a great job of putting up guards and trying to get rocks in the right position, but Saskatchewan just hasn't missed very much this game.
No, you're right. Alberta's been putting up some good shots, but Saskatchewan's just a little bit better, and they're just outmatching them at this moment in time. So a little bit of time for Alberta to get back into it, but Saskatchewan does have the hammer.
Yeah, 5-rock rule, of course, and we've seen some comebacks on this sheet and elsewhere.
Yeah. There's only a difference of 3, and so I never can be 100% sure.
It's also the time of the week, too, where it can be hard to focus, even if you're winning or losing, I think. I think it's probably advantageous to have the closer games right now, because if you start getting it, your mind starts getting a little ahead of yourself in terms of what could happen next if we win this game and then we win the next game. And you know, if you're off to, if I look over to that sheet, that's the 10-3 lead for Newfoundland, they might start thinking about their next game, and you don't really want to do that, even if you're winning by a great margin. So this will be a test of both teams to ensure they keep their focus.
Yeah, I think a big part of it too, not to look too far ahead, like you said there, Darren, just really focusing on what's happening right now and look to close out your game effectively, and while also not thinking too much about the next, even if whether you're winning or losing, it's just important to stay focused and try and finish the game, play well. By the top,
yeah. Brotherhood will put up the first center guard and add to it another one with lots of separation, so those can't easily be double peeled without a shooter staying in play. So good shot by Andrew and Saskatchewan. And lead Joel McDonald is asked to put one top 4 on his second.
If you could roll the shooter, that's quite a long double peel anyway. So Alberta will look to start wrapping some stones around now that they've set up those center guards.
I'll slip just behind the tee line.
And the call there now to draw around and freeze not quite to it, but to get to the top button there. They'd like to sit shot stone.
Big shot here for Fred Edwards if he can lock that on there. set up a potential steal for Alberta.
Yeah, no
First
question.
has to make it. Line looks nice. Sweeper's calling 6, which would be perfect.
This looks good as it slides in here. And
oh, what a great shot by Fred Edwards. And Alberta needed that right now, and they got it. So
and that's
no time wasted there by Aaron Goudreau to walk up and peel that guard off.
No, they don't want to give up a steal here. They don't need to focus on scoring big. They don't need to score, 3 or 4 or anything like that, but they'd like to not give any up here.
And so now if you're Alberta, you're guarding that shot for at least this end.
Yeah. Another great peel there by Saskatchewan. They've been making a lot of those today. So looking for another center guard here. Fred Edwards is his second stone of the end here. Will slide towards the center line. Leave a bit of a stagger there on those.
Aaron saying half rock will remove both those reds now and lose the shooter. Tom Johnson, his second peel of this end. This one's going though. He's gonna closer to the nose than he wanted, but it should still get enough action.
Doesn't a little roll.
Might block the draw path if they need it for the in-turn, but does the trick in getting rid of the 2 red nonetheless.
And still lots of room on the out-turn side as well to get around in there. Rocks are curling nicely today as they have been all week. A little less curl than we've seen in the past couple games, or about half a foot less.
Saw Chris there turn around and something was under his slider in the delivery. Quickly jumped up and looked behind him. Maybe a pebble or something under there. Could be quite distracting when you're coming out.
Looks like he's still delivered a pretty nice stone here though, despite that, and that'll come up right to the center line. Letting Saskatchewan know there that there may be something in the path.
Want to hold the line on this, and they do just that. Good sweep.
Yeah, that's add that to the list of peels that Saskatchewan's made this game. It's been quite impressive. I don't think I've really seen them miss many of those, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you get the lead early, you got to be able to defend it with peels, and they've done a good job of that. And when you get down early, like Alberta did, you got to be able to make draws and guards, and Alberta's been able to do that as well. And
we have our first final. That's over on sheet E, and that's the women's game between Newfoundland and PEI, and they're just putting up the final score, but Newfoundland will take that one as right now that shows 10-3. We'll date you on the final score.
I think it's our first 6-ender of the tournament, but if I will say I've been covering this event for the last 5 years, and I will say that I think we're getting less and less of those high scores, which is an indication that the talent between the top and the lower teams is narrowing, which is a good thing. We've had some big scores in the past. Certainly any event. You look at the Canada Cup even last night, there was a big score. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but just consistently big scores are not as common at this event, which is really good. It's good for the fans, it's good for the players, it's good for the organizations. We talked about off the top the territories in the north, Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. They've brought in some really good showings this week. There really isn't that much of a difference as there was, say, 4 or 5 years ago between some of the lower-ranked club teams here that there is between the top and the bottom. So it's a really good indication of the club talent that's out there.
Yeah, it's really promising, and it's always more fun, you know, to watch close games. You know, even if you're on the side of the winning team, and even playing games, I can say it always feels more satisfying to just eke out a win than it does to, you know, get a complete blowout. So really nice to see that the gap is narrowing for sure.
Dale Goring asked to put up the guard. Line is really important on this one. And they'll split the center line almost.
Yeah, that's just about, it's about perfect in terms of leaving their own stone fully buried, and good indication. Seen great sweeping all week from all of these teams out here, and as you'll see on their brooms there, they're all using the World Curling Federation approved fabric, that bright yellow there. So it's a standard across a championship of this caliber. So all the same kind there. So not as effective directional sweeping certainly as there was several years ago, and that's really what brought about this standardization.
Yeah, just a light clean on that one.
Okay, good peel. So what to do now if you're Alberta? You are the shot stone. Certainly they'll be looking at a guard, but also may look to come into the rings and put one maybe on top.
Yeah, stealing one is great if you're Alberta, but is it good enough? Then you'd have to steal another 2, and then you'd have to steal the extra end. So it might be inclined to just try to lock one right on there to steal 2, and that way you're face less of an uphill battle in the 8th. But right now it would be very hard for Saskatchewan to score. You don't want to disturb it, the situation in the 4-foot, but you want to get one right in there to be second shot if you're going to go in.
Yeah, and actually the nice thing is they do have the chance if they come a little late, that's not too bad, because it would leave quite a tricky double.
They're calling 4, so they're going to try and drag this.
Yeah, that'd be near the top of the house. Backing off now as I think maybe the speed's close. Line looks really nice here.
Just don't want to move or create too much separation. And that is a great shot. Yeah. What a great shot by Dale Goring and his rink from the Glencoe Club in Calgary.
Yeah, that'll help him. That certainly will help the team feel good there. That's a pretty tricky shot to get rid of those, even just to give up one, even just to kick one of those out.
Yeah, Goudreau now anywhere high side here should lose the top red. Middle red, you're basically at this point conceding the 1 point if you're Saskatchewan.
Yeah, not wanting to give up 2 here. That's
just
the big thing.
Make sure you hit it on the high side. You don't want low or nose. I'm not sure if I would think nose would be probably not good enough. I think you want to hit it on the high side. So big shot here to prevent the steal of 2. Aaron Goudreau in his final rock, and they really need to drag this out. They're close to getting nose. Might be a little on the high side. Good enough? Not quite, and it's a big steal of 2 for the team from Calgary, and it's a 5-4 game now as we head to the 8th end. Dale Goring with an absolute pistol on his last to to set up that steal of 2.
Yeah, that was just a perfect draw there, and his first shot was great as well. So had a great guard placement.
Making it interesting. We'll go to another 8th end, but men's games still a few in action. It's a 4-4 tie as UConn battles back with their game against Prince Edward Island. We have a final in the first loss now for Nova Scotia. They will fall to British Columbia, who improved their record to 2-3. And New Brunswick men also have a 6-1 lead right now. They're playing a 6N on Newfoundland and Labrador, and I see the mitts are coming off. Maybe not. Mitts came off one of the New Brunswick players. I'm not sure if the team will be shaking, but. All the scores at curling.ca. You can find the standings. It will get complicated this afternoon and the evening, but as we watch the first rock in this critical 8th end, as Alberta looks to continue their stealing ways. They trail by 1 without Hammer.
Yeah, a lot of teams here with a really close win-loss record here, and they're all a lot of sort of bunching up around the middle, as can tend to happen in a lot of events. So thinking now as well to those draw to the buttons that they do before each game, not only for Hammer, but also used in place of tiebreaker games. And so hoping now that they've made the draws, and if they have a similar record as another team, that will carry them through into this double knockout playoff format.
Long guard to start, and just like last end, Andrew Brotherhood is being asked to create lots of separation between his short guard and the long one on his first. I think back to that 7th end, it was Andrew's guards, which I think got things going for Alberta.
Yeah, it really enabled them to get some rocks into play, and you see that worked out for them. Of course, they picked up the steal of 2 in the last end to bring it within 1 point, so now certainly is a tight game.
Yeah, Fred Edwards also made that really nice freeze on his first rock back button, and that ended up being the one of the 2 counters for the Alberta team.
Yeah, Alberta played good guards last end too. It really cut off Saskatchewan's access to that stone. Good sweeping by both teams this game. The front ends really putting in some work on some of these skip stones.
Yeah, it's getting late in the week. We're game 5 for these teams. So 8-end games, but as we said, a couple of them have gone to extra ends. And that's just from Monday night to we're now Thursday early afternoon. And they played 5 games, and know that probably at least one of them or maybe both these teams have a few more games to go. So conserve your energy when you can, but also you can't let up at any point either. So it's a tricky balance. It is a grind for sure. So Fred Edwards on his first rock. A little bump is the call. Let's move these yellow rocks in the house around to generate something for Alberta.
This looks pretty close here. They're by that guard.
Saskatchewan did a good job of keeping their stones above the tee line, but Alberta wants them behind the tee line, and he achieves that on his double tapped in the house.
Saskatchewan now will look to remove these guards from play, as they're certainly restricting their access to the forefoot.
Just clean is the indication.
Always a good sign to hear. Certainly, even more so if it's your skipper's last. That's the type of comments that you're looking for.
Tends to be more when people say it, or in the 8th end. I always find you hear more cleans, less cleans when it's otherwise. But there is I believe, a timeout now been called by Alberta.
So we'll now have a chance to chat with Coach Paul Webster.
Discussion here around how to steal your way to an extra.
Yeah, already an interesting setup. Lots of rocks in the house already. 3 counters and a guard.
Paul, a great asset to this team, does a lot of work at the Glencoe club. So investing in the club level, but also has worked with a number of our elite level curlers across Canada in the national team program. So.
Yeah, Paul as well has had involvement here with the, right here at the Leduc Curling Club, actually, the Alberta Rocks Curling Camp, and he's been a great part of that for the past few years. And
I always find it can be interesting at the club level. Just last year it was permitted that you could add coaches to it, and not all teams do it. Because I think there's good reason to do it and good reason not to. One of the reasons against doing it is you're often out there with 4 guys or women playing on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. You're not used to having a coach. If you add that dynamic when you're traveling or even when you're practicing and pregame here at the event, it can throw things off. It's another person that is added to the mix. So it can be a challenge. So you got to make sure you find the right person that has the knowledge, the skills, but that person can also bring a lot to the table. Someone like Paul, but also we've seen a number of other coaches for the men's and women's teams really add to the experience and can allow you to kind of focus on what you need to do as a 4-person team on the ice.
Yeah, I think a part of it really, as you sort of touched on there, it depends on, I think, how much you play as well. A lot of these teams, especially in some of these more contested provinces, often I was speaking to some of the Alberta members, and they've mentioned that they're playing in several leagues, and so sometimes when you're playing a lot more, you may find that guidance a little more helpful.
And so looks like I think they've called a long guard. 1 is the indication from the sweepers. You want to make sure you get it over, but you don't want to get too close to that other guard.
You don't want to open up certainly you don't want to leave the other team an easy double peel.
That's a tough shot in an 8th end for Fred, because you certainly don't want to hog it, but you don't want to be too heavy.
Yeah, that's a pretty good position for him there. Certainly in the 8th end, you may find yourself with a little more nerves, but calm and collected there, and throws a nice stone.
I don't remember watching a club championship game that's had so many peels called and made. And that was Tom Johnson has been on fire for that all game.
Yeah, I don't think he's missed one. He's been really solid with those.
Pretty confident too in his delivery and just clean a lot of them, so not needing even too much help from the sweepers. Chris Armstrong now asked to replace it. Playing it out, Denver probably going to see after that chat with the team in the 4th end, or in the timeout is guard, and then Dale maybe go around on his 1st or maybe 2nd.
Yeah, I think they'll certainly look to Alberta will. I would like to see him go in on his 1st. I think depending on, of course, the scenario, but I think it would bring the team some more confidence if they were able to loop one in a little earlier and not always have so much pressure on the final stone, especially without the hammer.
And this one is, they're close enough that you could maybe get the double peel, but I think, well, on this one it's just going to be just the single. You see Tom there. Giving it some wishful brushing.
Yeah, it's like sweeping behind the rock, right? It's,
Yeah. It probably won't be a factor over there as a corner guard. So I guess you'll say mission accomplished on that. Saskatchewan fans up here can breathe after a close one. One is sliding. You really don't want to set up a double peel. So now they're just trying to freeze it to make the double peel a little more difficult. And they did. And now yeah. Saw a timeout being indicated now by Saskatchewan. So a great result there for that one. Because I don't know, Denver, if you're where you can afford to hit that and not run it into something in the house.
Yeah, it's a tricky position. Certainly, they're so close together that
it's almost drag effect closeness.
Yeah, another inch would certainly be, but it's almost enough that certainly I think it's a smart idea to take a second look at it here rather than just start running things right away. I mean, if you get it anywhere near nose, you're probably killing your stone there in the top 4 or the one that's in the 8 foot there.
It's a good result by Alberta having that rock there, because I can't see how you get rid of both of those reds. And then you got to think that we were talking about coming around Dale on his first. They might be looking at coming around on Chris's next one before we even get there. So a real interesting 8th end shaping up as we see Saskatchewan confer. We might be able to hear a bit of it. The other thing too is if they did decide, like if Saskatchewan decided to go around at this point, Alberta has that run back too, so that could be dangerous.
Yeah, and that red stone there as well for Alberta at the top of the 12, even if they promote that onto the red there at the top of the 4, as long as they bump it back a bit, that would give them shot stone.
Next door, we're watching, keeping an eye on things between Prince Edward Island and Yukon. Yukon, as you just saw there, charging back after trailing 3-0 after the first 2 ends. They have a 7-4 lead, a pretty open house for them as the Yukon men look to continue their great run here at the championship. They're 3-1, and a win here would put them in second place, a tie for second place, as Nova Scotia dropped their first game, and Quebec is the other team in their pool, and they're ahead right now with a 4-0 record. But back in our game, it's a lot of discussion, rightfully so, because it's a real interesting scenario for both these teams, as Saskatchewan leads by 1, sitting 2, but kind of a precarious frozen guard situation up the front.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. There's a lot of angles to keep track of here, and also they having a good look at those guards there as we have another peek at those. They're almost close enough to bring in the drag effect, but maybe not quite, so definitely them taking time out there. I think the smart call just to look everything over.
Jason Schlachter will attempt to hit and roll off the top red stone. He's just getting by the guards. And he'll spin his shooter out. One less red rock.
Yeah, and that red rock was in a bit of a precarious position too, able to be promoted up, so now Alberta will have to look at things a little differently. Well, Darren, looks like they may be going for a hit here and potentially maybe looking at trying to get both of those stones out there. They don't necessarily need to make a double here, but it is the second last stone for Alberta, and so if they could get both yellows moving, I'm sure
they
would be nice.
They might even be with that ice playing a little quiet weight hit and roll around the...
And maybe just try and get underneath as well. We'll have to see here as they get set to...
8-9 is the call, so just a bump is the call. Brotherhood and Edwards leaning on this one to get it by the guards.
Still room now, so they...
Just rubs it. And bad break there for Alberta.
Yeah, you know, they... front end, they're giving it a heck of a good sweep there. The very, very strong effort by them, and I thought they were almost by there. It really just past the hog line, really started to tuck in on them as it looked like they had some room. So we have a look at the replay here.
Well, they got by the first one. It was hard to do to hit the second one and get by the first one, and they were so tight together. But even if he was by, probably a pretty good way to at least touch the yellow and
at least maybe behind the tee line. Yeah.
Didn't disturb those Reds by much.
Their second shot for the moment, but needing to steal one here to force an extra.
See 2 minutes remaining on the time clock for Saskatchewan, one timeout remaining for them. So they have lots of time to throw those two stones, including this first one, I should say, by the Saskatchewan skip.
As we said earlier, not too many teams getting close on the time.
The roll out of that spot. Well, there was a roll, but he left a double back, but that is an awfully tight one, and you'll see Alberta calling their second timeout. This is similar to, I believe, last night. Alberta, can't recall who they were playing, but it was that would have been the Ontario game where they had two technical timeouts in the game. I believe rock issues and something else, and then other timeouts were used in the 8th end. So for essentially 6 timeouts, I believe that was in their last end.
How much can you see? All of it.
So the front end is asked how much they can see, and they said no hesitation, all of it. But I'll say from sitting right behind it, it's just all of it. But he really does need to be able to get to nose. Dale does on this one to make the double. If he doesn't get to nose, it would be handshakes. He needs to clip the second yellow stone. If he can get a little roll under too, that would be helpful. We have another men's final. Yukon running Prince Edward Island out of stones there, and the Yukon men will improve their record to 4-1, and Prince Edward Island moves to 0-5. Dale Goring, his final stone of this 8th end. Great game by both teams here in draw 10. Really gonna go on this to get it by. Are they by? Not quite. Oh wow, good try. And that will do it.
Well played game here by both teams, but Saskatchewan will pick up the win here in the 8th end as they'll improve now to 3-2, and Alberta 3-2 as well now.
So we'll be back later this afternoon for our next feature game. New Brunswick men taking on Nunavut, and draw 11 from the 2019 Canadian Curling Club Championship live from Leduc. Darren McEwen alongside Denver Suddy. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you this afternoon.